This video is just about some quality of life changes I want to see added to the game. These quality of life changes could range from like obvious no-brainer things that just make sense to do to some more crazy systematic changes that I think would just be a huge benefit to the player base as a whole. This is just kind of off the top. Now, obviously, I'm not a game dev, so I don't know how long some of these changes might take, but I feel like throwing the idea out there is still helpful, just in case some Bungie employee ever sees this at some point. You never know. These are just changes that I think will be very helpful to the game. Starting off in our inventory, I have two of them. First things first is going to be enhancement cores. It makes no sense that this is still an item in our inventory. I don't have this issue, but I know that some players do, where they just have stacks upon stacks of enhancement cores and just shoving them in their vaults. We had a system in place not too long ago with the unstable cores that are right up here, and I'm not saying bring those back, but just translate the enhancement cores into unstable cores. Just put it back up here, paint them orange, call it a day. It makes no sense that this is just clogging our inventory, and like I said, some players have stacks upon stacks. It just makes sense for this just to be right next to Glimmer, like unstable cores used to be. It just makes sense. Next up is raid banners. I feel like this is just like a long overdue change to remove these from the game. Maybe it's an elitist thing to still want to buy them, but I feel like it would save a lot of the headache of those moments when you run out of flags, and also those times you just have to sit outside of Hawthorne buying a bunch of them over and over and over again. It's an old system. It's an overdue change. We have better systems already where you can place flags for free. I mean, so many different portal activities, even activities before that, you can place flags for free. I don't know why we can't just change that system and remove these from the game. Like I said, maybe it's an elitist thing, but it's just like a no-brainer change that just needs to happen by now. Next up, I want to talk about the Postmaster. I really just want Postmaster from anywhere, just like how we have Vault from anywhere. I know that the Postmaster is on so many different destinations, but it's so annoying having to fly into a location constantly to empty my Postmaster. Like, what you see on screen right now is from like 3 activities. I did a Kel's Fall, a Fallen Saber, and then I did Fallen Saber again. That's all I did, and my inventory is basically clogged after like 3 activities. It's such a nightmare nowadays having to deal with so much inventory management, and Postmaster from anywhere would be such a godsend. I don't know how long that would take to make, but it'd be a great addition to the game. It'd be such a time saver. Genuinely just a great change that I want to see added to the game. Sticking in the tower for a moment, please, a landing zone over here on the hangar. I know it's like a very small thing, and it's been 10 years, and it'll probably never happen, but give us a landing zone in the hangar. It'd be so great to just be able to pop in, grab your passage from Saint, and leave, instead of having to land in the courtyard and then walk yourself there. It's a small nitpick, I know, but it would definitely be a quality of life change. We're at the point now where quality of life is just really what we need in this game. It'd be such a helpful thing for those weekly trials players. It would allow them to get their passage faster and get out of the tower faster, and to me, that's a great change. Next up is regarding favoriting cosmetics. Right now in the game, they share the same pool, so you can only favorite like a certain amount per things. So for example, you can see I'm favoriting a bunch of helmets here, and if I go, say, to my chest piece, I can't favorite anymore for some reason. And it's also shared with things like your emotes as well for some reason. It makes no sense that they share the same pool, and I'd like to see this changed. It would make more sense to allow us to have 100 favorite emotes, 100 favorite shaders, 100 favorite transmogs, instead of it being all shared under the same umbrella. It makes no sense that it's done that way. And it would really just make a ton of sense to just be able to give each individual slot their certain amount of favorites. I'd almost rather be like less amount per if I could have individual favoriting categories. Instead of it being 100 shared across everything, it was like 25 per. So I could have 25 helmets, 25 chest pieces, 25 emotes, etc., etc., etc. It would just make more sense if it was done that way instead of it being this one lump of all your favorites in one category, because they're not even in the same categories when you look at them in your inventory. So it just makes no sense how it's done that way. Going back to emotes for a second, emote wheel. Please, emote wheel. This is like one of those systematic changes I have wanted for basically the entire lifespan of D2, because we've had the same 4 button inputs for emotes for really since Destiny 1. I mean, back then you only had 1 emote slot, but at least you had 4 emotes that you can like click through is on the D-pad, and it's the same thing as it was back then. And I feel like it'd be smarter to just add an emote wheel. You know, just press down on the D-pad or something, then use your analog stick or maybe your mouse to pick an emote instead of it being a 1 button per. I don't know if maybe that's a huge undertaking to do, but it's something I would love to see in the game. It's genuinely one of the big changes I love, because emotes are my favorite thing in this game. You know, you see I actually have a lot of them favorited. Emotes are by far my favorite thing in the game, and I want to be able to have more of them equipped at one time, instead of it being this very awkward, you know, it's not really awkward, it's just that we're kind of outgrowing it. You know, we're at the point now where we have like 10 years of cosmetics, 10 years of emotes, and it's just not enough space for 4 anymore. It just makes no sense. We need more slots for emotes. Maybe if it is just like a second page where like I can just hold down one of the buttons and tab over to have 4 more or something like that. It'd be helpful. I'd love that change. Alright, so now I'm going to be talking about like a very huge systematic change that I don't think they will ever do, but this is just one of those things that I want to see happen, and that is Transmog, ships, and sparrows. If you play this game for any extended period of time, your inventory will get clogged with random ships and sparrows you don't care about because you open up right engrams, and you have to keep deleting them. That's annoying, and I hate it so much. I really just want to see a world where right here in the appearance customization, there's like a bottom section down here where you can just pick your ship and sparrow and just pick all the things associated with them. You know, it makes no sense that these are still inventory items, and it also saves you a lot of the hassle of dealing with the collection system. I mean, how many times are you really pulling ships and sparrows out of the collections? It'd just be smarter to put it in the character screen, put it at the bottom, and just make it its own thing as a customization. You can even do the same thing with emotes as well. Or sorry, not emotes, you can do the same thing with emblems as well. But I know that a lot of players hold these in such high regards because they're kind of like completionist rewards. So maybe this is something different. Maybe keep that the way it is because it's nice to have that as an inventory item. But with vehicles, it's not as fun because the amount of times I go in my inventory and just delete a bunch of ships that I didn't care about because I got clogged from bright engrams, it's way too often. It'd be nice if they just brought it into this system down here. Allow me to be able to pick my ship and sparrow when I pick my transmog for my character. It just make a lot of sense to do that. Another thing I also want to note is I can do the same exact thing with finishers as well. You know, this is just one of those items where it's like, why is it something that we need to pull from collections in order to use a finisher? It should just be something that's a one screen with all the finishers on there, and you just pick your favorite ones that you want to use, instead of it being this really weird, awkward situation where I have to pull it from collections to put it in my inventory to then store it later if I don't want to use it, something like that. It makes no sense. These should also be on the same vein as these that I mentioned earlier. Just put it in the transmog screen and let me pick it when I'm doing my customization. Put it all in one place instead of it being in multiple different locations. The next quality of life change I have is regarding loadout slots, and I'm not going to say you're going to ask for more of them, but I want better icons. The icons we have in the game are incredibly lazy and annoying to deal with because it doesn't give you a good indicator of what build you're actually using. So I really would like this to be changed to actually use the icons we have in-game. For example, this build you're looking at. Why can't I just take the speedloader slacks icon and make that the loadout icon? It just make more sense if I could take the icons that are in the build and use it for the build icon. You know, if I want to put Parasite on there, I can. If I want to put Fatebringer on there, I can. If I want to use my Super, I can. Throw it on there. It makes no sense that we only have a finite amount of different loadout icons, and most of them are pretty ambiguous. You know, Crucible, cool. What type of Crucible build are you doing? There's Trials, yeah, alright, that's cool too. There's some that are pretty niche, but then others are just ambiguous, because you have Strand. Strand is an entire element with multiple different builds. Sometimes you have more than one Strand build, so it'd just be nice to have a very clear, concise way of knowing what build it is. Let me use the icons in the game. Hell, if I want to put Solar Surge as the icon, let me do that. Just cuz. It'd make more sense, it'd be a very nice quality of life change, and it'd be easier to know what loadout you're looking at a glance, instead of having to actually look at it. Now obviously, loadout swapping is a bit of a hot topic in the community, and making it easier might be kind of troublesome for some people, because they don't know how to hot swap loadouts, but to those people I say, I don't know, good luck with that. Anyways, that's just like a quick list of some quality of life changes I want to see added to D2. Like I said, some of these might be a bit crazy. Others are pretty no-brainers that just should have happened by now. Let me know what you think about these changes, and let me know about any changes you might have thought of. Obviously, I'm one guy, and there's tons of different quality of life things they could do for this game. This game needs quality to life. We're in a very weird spot with the game right now where I feel like the easiest thing to do to get people's attention is just to make the game easier for them. So, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.